Yo, good to see you.
We are here. We've made it to 13.
Episode
Lucky,
13, community
lucky
conversations.
for some. Lucky for some.
Well, we just love community, don't we? And let's just bring back front and center as to why we're doing this. Is just to have good conversations about community, how to create it, how to find it, how to belong it, how to belong to one. And where's your heart today? A lot of this conversation is informed by the next little step across the river, shall we say, as to get to the other side. And what do you
Yeah.
think would be a
Well,
useful conversation
what kind
today?
of came to me really was like this idea of, I mean, we've touched on it before, but sort of what draws people to community and how they go about discovering
Hmm.
where, when, and who is for them.
Hmm.
And for me, it comes back to our core values, um, which was something I wanted to share because community is also obviously about coming together with lots of other people. But my thoughts and feelings is that if we are not aware of ourselves, and if we don't take the time to come back to ourselves and understand who we are and what we love to do and what makes us within a community, I don't feel like we would necessarily seek out the right places and spaces and people. And I just kind of wanted to join those dots really, in that it might seem alien that we have to come back to self first before we go seeking others.
Yeah, I really resonate with what you're saying because it's this the image that kind of comes to me is that life is a mosaic of 8 billion people, right? There are 8 billion, but we only really know, let's just say it's a big puzzle, 8 billion jigsaw piece puzzle. We only really know where to place ourselves when we understand the shape that we are.
Mm.
If you imagine a puzzle piece, right, you've got certain different attachments going in certain different ways, negative,
Yeah.
positive, or masculine, feminine kind of parts. And you only really know where to place yourself once you understand, this is a bit of me that goes here. This is where this belongs. And I think it's understanding is then that looking inwards and go, what is a Ryan? What is an Abbie? I was talking to Katerina about an hour ago about this map, this experiential map that we've been given throughout however long we've been living. This feedback mechanism we get by being a human being is like we gain, like Bruce was saying to me on the show that was coming out in a couple of weeks, we gain more energy when things are more in alignment with who we truly
Mm.
are. And we
Mm.
lose energy when things are not in alignment, things are not in harmony. And this reflective exercise can be as simple as that. Like, where have I placed myself? Spaces, places, people, topics that just naturally give me more energy. And where have I placed myself in the past that I don't know, for whatever reason, it's just I've come away feeling drained or confused or less joyful. And I think if we started to take inventory of that,
Mm.
the gift we give ourselves then is going, more of this, less of that, please.
100%. Yeah, and it does take that little bit of exploration, I think, as well, because I think we can easily um, think that other people are, I don't know what the right word is, I guess, but I want to say the word that's coming to mind is like vibing off the same things that we are. And that might not necessarily always be the case, but there's going to be that common link or ground somewhere. And I guess that's where then the communication element of community comes in, is that we have these conversations and we discover those things between us. And once we've, like you said, coming back to like links, once we've made those links, they're the things that we then build on within the community. And like you say, bring more of into the frame, into the space, and feel good about it all.
Yeah, and do you know what? Like sometimes when people don't have this frame of reference of understanding, it comes out in the form of judgment. And like, some people close to me, they'll use me as a sounding board. And to justify the thing that they like or the thing that they want to do, inadvertently they have to poo-poo something else. They have to put it down or make it less than. And it's like, dude, you don't have to do that. Like, you don't have to, you can just simply connect and explain why you like the thing that you like without saying this is what you dislike. And I know that might be is the what this is the law of contrast, right? We need, how do we know hot without cold, right?
Mm.
So we need to know what we like, and we can be informed by what we don't like. But we don't need to poo-poo somebody else's community. We don't need to poo-poo. You don't have to go, well, that podcast is shit, and I like this one. Like, you don't need to do that. You just need to take the gift, which is the, I like that. I want to spend more time with that. I want to do more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, I suppose something that I'm just thinking about is once you have that understanding of yourself, is not being afraid to express it either. I
Yes.
think that's really important. So it's one thing understanding it, it's another then feeling safe to fully express yourself within it, which, you know, being human beings, unless we do communicate verbally, we need to have these like visual cues and see people living their values in order to know that, oh my gosh, these are our people, you know. So I guess as well that then leads me to say that, like, well, let's just bring it back to you. For example, with this community, had you not gone, oh, do you know what, I love doing this, let's put it out there in the world and see what happens, it wouldn't have created what it's created so far in like 6 years. So come back to yourself, discover what those things are, and then be so confident in those things that you are not afraid to go out and express yourself and attract, you know, the right vibes, the frequencies of the other people that are doing exactly the same. Hey Bill, nice to see you.
Billy, good to see you, mate. Oh, I think his audio is just connecting. We'll give him a
Oh,
moment to
okay.
connect. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a thumbs up where you can hear us, Bill. But yeah, I think that's, it's really important, because I've heard this repeating message over the last few days, which is that it takes one person living in their power to encourage another to do the same. I just happened to be that I saw an Instagram mum dancing in a kitchen. That was just what she was doing. But like, what she was revealing is that by her demonstrating, the way that she was living her life, she had encouraged actually others to do the same, living out loud, living out, from the expression. And the same with a friend of mine in the men's group as well, is that he basically appreciated how I showed up in a networking meeting with vulnerability, because it then broke down the walls, barriers, and enabled others to do the same. And I think that's the wonderful thing, isn't it? If we've come to this place of clarity around who we are, we come to this place of knowing what's important to us. When we start living from that frequency, from that spirit, other people resonate, because they see that you found something that they're also not quite got the words for, and it
Yes.
gives them the permission to go and do that for themselves with other people that they care about. Anyway, let's welcome these two wonderful human beings, Bill, Jason. Bill, can you hear us at the moment? You hear us now?
Can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Can
good to
you? I
see
haven't
you,
done this
pal.
for ages. Oh, brilliant.
Hope you're resting up, healing well, mate.
Yeah. Well, I hope I'm healing. I don't know. I can't really see what's going on. It's all bandaged up, but yeah, I get to see it at the end of the month.
Good to see you, mate. Good to see you, Jason, too. How are you, brother?
I'm doing well, man. I just decided to jump on, and it sounds like you guys are talking about leaving an amazing heart print in the world.
And
That's
look at
it.
that thing over your
Absolutely.
shoulder, as if by coincidence.
Yeah.
So, Jason, can you describe that image behind you for those that listen on the podcast?
Uh, this image here,
Yeah, no, to
this,
that one. That looks like a ripple.
Yeah.
oh yeah. It is. It is.
Imagine
It's a
that.
ripple in the water. Yeah. I
There
didn't
you
notice
go.
that.
Amazing.
And he
Little
didn't even
ripple.
notice it. Oh,
I'm in a hotel. I checked in last night at
you're
like midnight.
right where you're meant to be, brother. Right where you're meant to be. So, Abbie, one of the things that you were talking about was this idea of community, how to find it, how to belong to it, and made me think of like my conversation with Bruce, because one of the things that Bruce is famous for saying is that we are a community of a trillion cells. Like, even us as an individual, we're like a community of a trillion cells. And then he gave this example about how, organ donations. you know, sometimes an organ donation, your body
Reject.
goes, that's
Yeah,
that's not one of
yeah,
us, and it rejects
yes.
it. And it's really interesting how everything's got a place, everything's got a function, and even some of those functions, as I say, that's not one of us. That's not us.
Yeah.
That's a threat to this. It's really
Mm,
interesting because I guess the main concept is as above, so below, right? And
mm,
if that is how cells function, and they're looking after, they understand this community of oneness and what is us and what isn't us, then wouldn't it only be natural that we would have a similar mechanism as a group of human beings?
yeah, so I love that because I mean we're talking about discovering what our values are in order to understand and connect with community, but actually what you're now saying is that that should just be something that we do naturally on a cellular, I can't say that
Well,
word,
what if the values were the
level.
blueprint for whether it's accepted or rejected? And that's a two-way thing.
Mm. Well, this, yeah. So you've got compatibility in terms of well, no, well, is it compatible? Oh my gosh.
Well, the wonderful thing I've heard in the leadership phrase is that so many people that think that vision, having a vision, is something that really unites people. But if you listen to the work of John Gordon, particularly the energy bus, he talks about no energy vampires. It's really important to make sure
Mm,
that the people on your bus are committed to the vision. And equally important is to make sure that those people who aren't committed are not on the bus. And I
mm,
think values are a wonderful way of us as a community expression from the inside to say, here are the sort of people that would vibe with, that would be
mm,
compatible with, that we'd appreciate spending time. That's the loving, come join us. The other bit that says the love tough bit is say, if we're not compatible on these values, then you're not welcome,
mm,
because the health of the organism or the cell or the body requires this oneness around these set of values and our identity. And if you're not compatible with those values, then the health of the organism will suffer. And I think it's a two-way thing. If people had an understanding of their own values, and if they match and they align, great, there's a donor.
mm.
And if they don't match and align, well, that organism is not meant to be mixed with this body.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that. Gosh. Sorry, I've paused because obviously my brain is now just going, oh my God, I need to process all this information. There's so much I need to know. I guess at this point I'll ask a question out to our good friends here, maybe, which will help me out. In terms of other communities apart from our beautiful one here that you are a part of, do you feel that there are similar, the same values that run in these other groups or communities that you're a part of as here, or and that align with your core values? Do you look to seek out places and spaces that align with your core values? I hope that makes sense.
Tricky because when you think about it, it's like I mean, you say a community is a family.
Mm,
So when you're saying, if you're not compatible, then you're out, would you say that about a family? Or would you work on that to make them compatible?
I'd say in some instances, yes. I know that there are members of my family that I am not in contact with. No,
Yeah, yeah.
it is that simple. That's just a realization that I've had to come to over time, is that
Hmm.
things aren't gelling for a particular reason. So therefore, and now we don't talk. And whether that's right or wrong, I don't know, but I think it's been to the betterment of everybody that's happened. So I don't think that can be explicit to
Would you
family.
say that's kind of mutual though?
Probably not.
Is it? Oh, I think right, okay.
But I think I had to stop and look at what my values were and that they weren't being met. And so
Yeah.
therefore I chose to step away. Yeah.
It's a good question. It's a really good question. And I think it's that fine balance between absolutely I mean, one of our values being being welcoming, connection, and community and belonging, right? So, of course, that would be an expression of try and accept and tolerate as much as we possibly can. But if there were behaviors and expressions that were in direct correlation with that, let's just say that the presence of competition, comparison, judgment, all the things that stand against what we represent, is actually more harmful to the entire group for that to continue. Because what it does is it erodes at the actual identity of the group, which is supposed to be about positive connection, community, and uplifting. And yes, it's a tricky one, because then you run the risk of being labeled a cult because you get rid of anybody's opinion that doesn't match the consensus, right? So it's a real tough line. And I think as a community leader and as a member, you have to understand where your limits lie and what you're willing to accept, what you're willing to tolerate, and understand whether the health of the group, the health of the group and the safety of the group is paramount, right? So what if due to the presence of one person, 900 then didn't have a voice, didn't want to speak, didn't want to feel like they could share? It's a tough one. This is when we get into the difficult realms of community leadership. What's the right thing to do? But I think the one phrase I'll always come back to is, if you sacrifice your values, you will sacrifice your peace. And always trying to find an ability to come back to the core values. This is what's important. We either live these expression of them, or maybe this isn't your. And this is what it comes down to. It's not I'm not exiling you, the human being. What I'm saying is this might not be your community. This might not be your place. And when it comes to a family, well, the context is relational, isn't it? It's blood relations. It doesn't mean to say that you.
Yes, unconditional, isn't it?
Right, unconditional. But the other context is like, you have an immediate family and then a wider family. And I think anybody that sets their internal family priorities based on what external family members are saying and doing, you probably sacrifice your peace because you're living off somebody else's values, not your own. So you've always got to come back to the core of, what's your core team and what's your core values and set of priorities. Because if you go away from that, you've got no home foundation, I don't think.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is that ultimately it was that thought and feeling of, okay, well, what's going to bring me peace in this situation, in terms of the wider family member. So, and that it wasn't there when there was a
wider family, or they just a wider family member?
Yeah.
Sorry, I put you off.
That's all right. No, but yeah, that was it. It was a case of, well, this could continue and could continue to cause like upset and grief, or however you wanted to describe it. Or, going forward, I could make a choice to, like you say, come back to myself, come back to what my peace looked like, and have to do what was necessary.
There's a metaphor here, and it comes from like fermented drinks. I think there's this idea that if a fly gets into the drink or something like that, the batch is bad. The batch is,
right.
And I think it's this idea that you have to keep the culture live and healthy, right? And just as so happens that we have a director of people and culture with us, and I'd love to know kind of like maybe your unofficial perspective, maybe your personal Jason's perspective as to, how do you nurture a culture? Because especially in a big corporate environment where there are hundreds of thousands of people with different values bases, how do you nurture and keep healthy a corporate culture?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit on it early on. Culture is the vision of the community, right? I mean, it's the common denominator. And when that common denominator is this energetic feeling of come as you are, we accept you, but our core values, right? The common denominator, the core values being love, compassion, empathy, those sorts of things. Like, this is the environment we have, and we're here to build each other up and move in this direction, whatever that direction of the community or the culture is. Then it's people can decide whether or not that's for them or not, right? But it doesn't change the environment of this is who we are. And I think that when you have somebody who is, not feeling it, then part of that culture is to go, hey man, are you okay? How are you? Right? And then they still get to decide if they want to open up or this isn't for me. I'm not ready. Or, my values lie somewhere else.
Yep.
Yeah.
And do you feel that, though, being such a big organization, that those values have to carry through the people in order for it to be experienced, I suppose, and for people to understand what that looks like, feels like?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, Abbie. There's the collective culture of the, if you want to say the founding fathers or the C-suite team, the people that are in charge of the larger group, they speak those cultures, or they speak that energetic feeling, right? The thing with corporate is you have the pressures to deliver financial results, especially if you're a publicly traded corporation. I mean, there's responsibility. And so blending that together is really the magic, where the magic sauce is, right? It's like uh, one drives the other, but sometimes when you're so focused on driving profit numbers, it's hard to see because there's pressures to deliver and everything is right now, or what have you done for me lately, right? And so that's where the culture and the community is so important, because it's a foundation of the environment.
Yeah. Bill, you've been part of a number of different communities. You've got this moniker being Billy 12 Clubs. You go around many different rugby clubs.
I was going to wear this.
Yeah. Well, so for those of you that can't see, Bill is wearing representations of multiple rugby football clubs that he has been part of. He's well known locally. Bill is well known and loved for being a journeyman in the old rugby game. Every year he's hanging up his boots, he's retiring, and yet here he is still playing. Bill, you've experienced many different micro communities, different clubs. Like, is there anything that really kind of pulls out your brain where you've gone, actually, do you know what, that has felt where I belong more than most? And not to say that any club's better, but any club's expression of community has meant that that's where you felt like you belonged.
It's tricky because you go into a club first of all, and everyone's kind of like, hi, come in, and they welcome you in straight away. I've had that with every single club that I've gone to, and after a while, that either dies off, and you're just kind of part of the furniture, especially if you're not scoring lots of tries and being amazing.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, it's a tricky one really, because like you've got, how can I explain it? I can't really explain it. Got a bit blank, to be honest.
Yeah, but I think what you're bringing in is a really important element, and I'm really seeing that play out with some of the professional football managers at the moment, which is this context of time. And I saw it at the police as well. Like, you get this fresh energy, this fresh leadership, you get this fresh vision, and then the energy goes into it, and being able to sustain that over a long period of time is a massive challenge that all leaders will at some point face. It's depending on where you take your energy from. You can put a lot of energy into creating momentum, but sustaining that, and if that starts to drip, a little bit of different in vision, man, that stuff can I think it can take you a long time to build, and then it could just fall overnight if it's really not actively managed and maintained. And we're seeing that with Jurgen Klopp. You could just see in his energy levels after 9 years of managing at the highest level, he's done. He's like he knows himself well enough to know he ain't got any energy left. Pep Guardiola, You just look at his eyes, like, man, that guy needs a good 24 hours sleep. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could see that the strain of being at the top of this culture, team, vision, mission, it takes strain on human beings. It's something they have to think about all day, every day, particularly if you're competing at the highest level. So I think self-awareness around energy levels and knowing, where you're at with this stuff and what it requires, and that honest kind of appraisal of, have I got what it takes to give what it needs at this moment, is probably a wise but scary prospect for most leaders to think about.
And I think like what you're saying there, and then which refers to all of these things, is that it's a team. It is a team effort. It is a community effort, because that one person can't sustain that.
Yeah, whether it's a team or a community or a business or whatever, it's multifaceted, right? Like there's so much going on and so much responsibility and all this doing. So really those core fundamentals are, how are we being while we're doing, right?
What would your advice be to any leader or team to get themselves clear on this essence of being? Because unfortunately, we're not born with that playbook of, hey, here's a Jason, here's a Bill, here's an Abbie, here's a Ryan. Like, in your experience, Jason, what's helped you get clarity on that state of being?
Man, well, I think a good place to start is to think about a couple of words, compassion and empathy, right? When we start to see people as human beings, as part of our organization, whether it's a team, a sport, or a business, or this community, right? When we start to see people as human beings and have some compassion for them and have empathy for whatever they are showing up with, that brings people together.
Yeah.
And then when people come together, then you talk about the initiatives and the projects and the direction we're going. And we have to continue that compassion and empathy along the way, right? And then some of that is development to where with skills. But the development happens so much easier, whether it's in sport or in a business world. Development happens because of this energetic connection of this leader cares for me. This leader gets me. This leader sees me as a human, not just part of the metrics or a means to an end.
Yeah, and I think if anybody doesn't have the ears to hear what Jason's just said in terms of the compassion and empathy piece, I'd add the word curiosity. If you're not naturally gifted with the heart-centric kind of stuff as a leader, get curious. Use your mind to go and ask good questions. Go and get to know people, because I think care cannot be forced. Like, some people like Jason naturally care about anybody and everybody, right? Yeah, this guy is a loving human being, much like Bill, much like Abbie, right? These people are caring human beings. If you're not wired with the gift of caring, get to know people, get curious, get close enough. This is why in society and culture, we love the underdog, because we get to know them. We get to understand their adversity, their insecurities, and we start to root for them. If you as a manager can give yourself the gift of curiosity to learn more about your people, their weaknesses, their flaws, their hopes, their dreams, and insecurities, guess what? You start to care for people, guys. Like, you might be the it's gonna happen. Spoiler alert. But you don't have to
How
get
we
there.
linked up, wasn't it?
100%. Go on, tell a story.
Yeah, well, I was at the rugby club, at Showbiz Rugby Club, wasn't it? And we were having a drink after a game. We'd never met each other before. I think we did play that game, didn't we, together? Yeah. Yeah. And you bought me a pint and we sat down and you just got curious. And I thought, this is a bit odd. It made me, to be honest, it was I felt a bit uncomfortable, to be honest. I was thinking, okay, what's this guy's idea? What's this crack? Yeah, but it turned out to be that you were genuinely curious and you wanted to help. And I think we had gotten to the subject of me not driving at the age of 40, probably about 40 then, I think I was, wasn't I? Yeah. And yeah, and you just kind of said, why aren't you driving? And I come up with so many excuses, didn't I? And then you said, I don't think you were straight on me then, but
No.
when we spoke on the phone, You were kind of like, you so what are you going to do? You're going to get this license? Because I had so much anxiety about driving, and I made so many excuses for years and years and years. And yeah, you just said, yeah, when are you going to put in for that application then for the driving license? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to do it in a couple of weeks. So what do you mean a couple of weeks? Why don't you do it now? Get on with it. Do it now.
Yeah, this is
And
it.
I just felt that force. I just thought, okay, yeah, okay, yeah. There's no real reason why I can't do it now, and I did it, and it's the ripple effect from there. Was onto getting the
Yeah.
application form and
Yeah.
getting the lessons, and it just went on from there. And I'm driving. Well, I'm not driving at the moment. I had to, but
that's like one of my favorite ripple effects of this entire community. Like I just remember that
yeah,
so much. Like, and I think unfortunately, Bill, what you gave me the gift of is enough understanding that you were the only thing in the way of you. Like I asked you a few questions, which is like, what's stopping you? And there was not a single thing that came out of your mouth that was ever going to stop you if you just give yourself the opportunity. So we took this overwhelming big sense of, oh my God, I need to pass my driving test. And we broke it down to, have you even got yourself a provisional license? You're like, no. I was like, what do you need to do to make that happen? Well, I need to get the forms. All right. Well, next time I talk to you, will you have the forms? Brilliant. Spoke to you. Okay, when are you going to get this thing filled out? A couple of weeks? I do. What are you doing tomorrow? Nothing. Right. Can you do it tomorrow? Yeah. and then the next question was like, well, when are you going to post it? Well, I don't know. Whenever I get a chance. I said, well, what, you you do it today? Yeah, I could do that. And before you know it, he's got his little provisional license being sent through and it was just, I just had to, because you gave me the gift of understanding how you work, what overwhelms you, what stresses you. I was able just to create the right environment for you to go, yeah, I could do that. I just had to keep you where you were confident, which is just the next small
yeah.
thing.
I mean, I
What's
thought it
beautiful.
was kind of forceful. It didn't feel forceful. It felt like I was kind of letting you down a little bit. I was thinking, yeah, well, yeah, I can't see any reason why I can't. And like you said, I just talk to myself in my head and think, why are you making these excuses? Why don't you just get on with it?
Love it.
And yeah,
Go ahead, Jason.
What? Yeah, I was going to say what's beautiful about what the two of you just talked about was that being curious led to accountability, development, and growth.
yeah,
And new possibility because
hugely, yeah.
now Bill was able to drive all sorts of places, personal freedom, able to ship around his multiple family members.
Brilliant. Love it. And that's just one small little story in amongst it all, isn't it? Which is fantastic.
And now we drive down to the river and see each other at the weekends.
That's right, yeah.
And so many people are starting to come and try that because you went first, Billy, you found the place. And, anytime that you see a ABTY member at Farley, it's because you went there first. Skinny dipping.
Yeah. Gonna bring that up for you.
Yeah, Jason, see us out with a final thought, reflection question for us all to ponder as community leaders, community members.
Yeah, be curious and care. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. Create an environment that people feel psychologically safe.
Thank you.
That's a call to action for us all today after having listened to this, then, isn't it? Go look for the opportunities to be curious. Go look for the opportunities to be curious about people. I think hopes, dreams, fears, insecurities. You're not saying this is a full-blown therapy session, but it is just like get to know your people. Get to know your people beyond the things that they can do for you at work. The people rather than their job roles, their processes. If you don't know their partner's name, if you don't know their children's names, good place to start. Birthdays, personal goals.
Yeah, we're all human beings, right? Like we all have things going on in our lives. Yeah.
All right, wrap it up then, Abbie.
Thanks so much. This was episode 13 of the Community Conversations podcast, and it was a joy to have Bill and Jason join us for this one. If you'd like to be here with us next month, that would be wonderful. And I just love how we start at one point with this kind of conversation and it leads into all these other beautiful little nuggets of information that we all get to share with one another. So, and that's all what kind of creating community is about, sharing the love between us all. So thank you.
Do you think there's space for us to start picking out some other community leaders beyond the Always Better Yesterday community and start interviewing them, or maybe even leaders within our community? You start interviewing them.
Yes.
All right.
Oh yes.
Let's start within our community. Let's showcase community leaders within our own community.
Okay.
Let's start doing that. Let's start writing a list of our top 10 to.
Yeah.
All right, let's do that.
Love that.
All right, there we go. Let's set in motion another little heart print. Jason, be well. Bill, be well. Anybody that's listening and tuned in, be well. And community is definitely where we're born. To thrive in this collaborative landscape of what it means to be human. We have all that we need, but we also don't have all that we need, in the sense that other people have what we're not very good at. Other people are able to contribute, so we're not supposed to go this stuff alone. So if you haven't found your community yet, keep intentionally seeking to place yourself, because it is life-giving. Not supposed to do it all, not supposed to have it all figured out, but a good people to journey with is life-giving. So thank you for co-hosting with me, Abbie. Appreciate you.
Thank you. See you
Peace
soon,
and love.
everyone.
Bye.
Love you guys.
Bye.